Kill Your Darlings, From Research to Business Awards. And what you see in the picture is my favorite pet, the diatoms. And let's see now if the technique can start to work here. Of course, there's always some problems. So one of the main characters in this story is the diatom. And what you can see here is a diatom mat. And diatoms are microscopic algae, tiny, tiny algae that live in the water column or on the seafloor. And the bubbles you can see here is actually oxygen production, because they are photosynthesizing all the time, all the year. The water depth here is about 2-3 centimeters, and they are amazing. It started a long time ago when I was fascinated by diatoms, and eventually I got my PhD in microbenthic communities in a changing light environment with emphasis on ultraviolet B radiation. And the lovely piece of art on my thesis is actually made of a colleague, Christine Andreasson, and she made it by hand. So here my fascination for diatoms started. Well, this is me, a nerdy scientist, always concerned about experimental design, replicate sampling, variables, more analysis, statistics, what method to use. Should I go for multivariate? Should I go for analysis of variance? And aiming for scientific publications. And that's me in my heart. And then results have to be checked. They have to be double checked. And then, of course, if I have done it in Sweden, I have to see if it also works in the tropical areas, for example, here in Oman. Then I go polar. Does it work in Antarctica? Is it okay in the Arctic? What can I do? Do they also grow in dark? Yeah. So here in the Arctic, this is actually in Ny-Ålesund in Svalbard. We found out that they also grow in very cold and low light conditions. And what you can see here, this brownish area is a bloom of diatoms, ice inhabiting diatoms. These tiny, tiny organisms that are 10,000s of different species. And they all look very different. The morphology is different, and they are covered by a silica shell. I will get back to that. It's a nice picture, right? We only take pictures when the sun is shining. And it's like 1 day out of 100 when we have this nice weather. These are remote areas, and you get to think a lot. So then I got the idea. I could see that these ice inhabiting diatoms, they had more oil. You can see oil drops in this diatom down to the right here. So they have this oil fraction, and if it's cold, you can see more oil. And if they're kind of nutrient limited, if they don't get enough nutrients, you can also see more oil inside them. So they are exposed for very low radiation. They grow almost in the dark. They are still productive. So maybe I could build something around them. Maybe they could be a source, for example, for biodiesel. And then we have the white powder, the silica. And then we have the biomass. And the biomass is rich in antioxidants like beta-carotene, different kind of carotenoids that we actually use today in the industry and also for human consumption. But as most of my colleagues, I put my idea in a drawer. But then I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I thought about it. And then I met Camilla Pettersson, who's an innovationsrådgivare. I don't even know what that is called in English right now. But Camilla told me, I had a short talk somewhere, and she said, Angela, I think you should take your idea to, excuse me, the idea evaluation course. Okay, so 1 minute before they closed, I sent in my application. It was around Christmas and everything went bananas. But then again, I had David, a very nice course leader. He helped me and he said, okay, I will have a look. I pitched my ID, and Sophie Allert was one of the students that did this evaluation. And the group of students, they gave a positive recommendation. And I was encouraged to pitch again. I pitched, and I was accepted. My idea was accepted for the Chalmers School of Entrepreneurship. Luckily, Sophie was there. So she and some other students, they got the opportunity, or I got the opportunity to work with them and have my ID tested at the school, business school, so to speak. I don't know all the vocabulary here. And we were incubated, and we could start to build a company around the ID. And then, wow, okay. As I said, I am a scientist. I have these replicates, variables. We have to be very careful. We can't go out with any results, even if we know or we think that this is a good result. Here, they didn't worry so much about the exact results that I did. Instead, it was business plans, market segment, segment market, whatever, IP or no IP, investors, production cost, leave the lab, pitch contests. Oh, no way. Help, Sophie. And this is one success factor in this story. You have to find someone you need a chemistry with someone with a complementary competence. We had the idea that we wanted to build a circular business model around this. We wanted to have a Swedish algae factory where our algae, the diatoms, one of my pet species, would clean the water from phosphorus and nitrogen. Then we could use the oil for biofuel. And then we got some extra that could be used as fertilizers, or phosphorus that could back as fertilizers. We would get clean water. We could use carbon dioxide from industries. I mean, we would have a very sustainable, environmental friendly business, and at the same time, something that we could sell. We had the idea that we could both have the biodiesel and then this mechanically stable, non-porous silica, the shells from the diatoms. A beautiful idea. So we applied for a grant from Vinnova, and we were interviewed in Stockholm, and the business coaches or the evaluators said, yeah, nah, this is, you are all over the place. You should focus. And you should focus on the biodiesel. Okay, we needed this money, the money to start this startup company. And then, okay, we said, we rely on you. We focus on the biodiesel. And this is a quite expensive process to get the oil out of the diatoms and into the refineries. The good thing is that we found out that our diatom oil could go straight into the refineries. We didn't need any alteration of machines or anything. So that was a good thing. But we wanted to do it a bit different. So we want to grow our diatoms together with some other organisms, like a win-win situation. So we built a small factory around a land-based fish farm. So we could take the nutrient-rich water from the fish farm and the carbon dioxide, of course. We had a greenhouse outdoors where we had the ambient radiation conditions, sunlight. We cultivated our diatoms. These are benthic diatoms, I should say. So they grow in very, very shallow waters, not like phytoplankton in a huge tank where you have a massive amount of water that you need to filter. So this is a more cost-efficient way of growing them. And then our diatoms clean the water wonderfully, and it could go back to the fish farm, and they have less nitrogen and phosphorus. And they, of course, because our diatoms are photosynthesizers, they produce oxygen. So the fish will get an oxygen-rich water. And we could make some extractions, and then we will get the silica shells, so-called frustules, out of it. And by the way, I should show them. I don't know, I hope you can see them. Otherwise I will show them later. So this is a small jar with white powder. This is 1 gram of these diatoms, and it's a lot. This worked nicely, but the biodiesel, yes, it could work. However, our diatom oil was perfect. It could go straight into the refinery. No, our diatom oil was too expensive when you counted, made the calculations, or the fossil fuel is too cheap, depending on how you do your calculations. We still have the waste products that could be fish feed, the biomass, the organic biomass that could be fish feed, or fertilizers. But we went the direction for the diatom shells. Algica, we call it as a brand, we call it, it's protected. Okay, so Diatoms Go Biotech. Now I'm about to start to kill my darlings here. Now it's not so much about replicates, variables, experimental design. Now it's more hardcore. Does it work? Well, the test of Silicor solar panels with our frustules resulted in a 4% efficiency enhancement. And this was already mentioned vaguely in the literature. So this is an exploration. And Sophie, she did all this that I find extremely boring, to call people and have meetings, but I could focus in the lab on my diatoms and make them grow. And so this is a perfect match. We could have a very, very thin layer of our frustules, and this was tested by Rice. And we could see this efficiency because, I will explain later, but the light, the radiation goes into the pores, and it spreads from the pores over the solar panel, and it can also shift the wavelengths. And it was also tested in the field. Nice. So this is one of our species. And you can see it's a lot of pores. They are nanopores. And in these nanopores, light is trapped, so to speak, because they are photosynthesizers. So the light has to pass the shells and get to the chlorophyll where everything happens for photosynthesis. This is a clean diatom, so it's only the silica frustule, no organic material here. So in a way, these pores can redirect and refocus the white light, the photosynthetic active radiation. But it also blocks some part of the harmful ultraviolet radiation, and it can manipulate ultraviolet radiation to the photosynthetic active radiation. And this is the diatoms. This is so elegant because these pores are the only way for diatoms to communicate with the environment. So carbon dioxide comes in through the pores, oxygen goes out, nutrients in, waste products out, and this is a constant uptake and release of nutrients, water, gases. Of course, it should be used for something. Yep, it's a long way from a diatom frustule to be covered or put on a solar panel. How should you put it there? on the upside, on the front, on the back, what direction, should it be covered in something, etc., etc. So this is a long way to market. And here again, you can talk about kill your darlings. A long way to market. And that's not what I want. I want results that could be published and inspire others. But that's not how you build a company. You have trade secrets. You have to be a bit shh about things. It's about IP and IP protection. This is something that I'm not familiar with, and I desperately needed Sophie and also other colleagues to help with that. But then we found, or Sophie actually found this a short way to market. We know that in the skincare products, there's a lot of not very good substances from an environmental point of view, directly harmful substances, but maybe we could exchange these substances, some of them with our material. We know that the diatom shell can actually help moisturize. It has also been shown that they can take up impurities from the skin. This has all been tested. And so it could be used in cleansing masks. I'm not very good at this. And also in creams for moisturizing, and actually also for UV protection. Interesting. So pick the low-hanging fruits first. I mean, it's still a vision, and we are getting there with the solar panels, but the skincare products, we have already sold our Algica material. But there are so many potential applications. And then again, I'm a scientist. I want to explore. I'm driven by curiosity. I want to know more and more and more and learn more. What can we do with them? Yeah, we can have them also in paint as UV screeners. Maybe it's for now too expensive, but in the future, etc., etc. And there are more. Very, very preliminary results from laboratories have shown that they can increase the efficiency of their node in lithium-ion batteries. This has been tested in Norway, for example, in control of drug delivery inside the body. Sensors, also in lab scale, it works nicely. And then carrier for catalytic substances. They all work very nicely in lab scale. So we need to focus, or I need to focus, but we all still have to be flexible. So flexibility is also something that is important. Yeah, this is in Swedish. Factors for success. Kill your darlings. No prestige. You have to be open. You have to respect each other. A transparent relationship. Build on confidence. You should fight sometimes or have, animated discussions. We always come to a consensus. That is so beautiful. It's not necessarily that we agree from the start, but when we leave our conversation, we agree. You need somewhere to meet, like a business school or entrepreneur school. And it's also extremely important to have a connection between these entrepreneur schools and the university, and still for a startup company to have a connection with the university, to be able to continue with the research in parallel. So have also a passion for what you're doing. That's so important, because I work 100% at the university. So the extra time I put into a company, that's my spare time. Although I'm encouraged by my boss to work and explore my ideas. And about dare to be stupid. Well, we went to a conference, Sophie and me, we're heavily jet lagged, and we are as stupid as we look. We took this very nice selfie or groupie in front of, we thought, was the White House. Well, it wasn't. It was some kind of finance building. But this is something that could show that you have to laugh, and you must have, you shouldn't fear to fail. So failure is one step closer to success. Now, I will be a bit controversial, but I will also explain why. Be careful with business coaches. Some of them are so good and some of them are so bad. And you have to know what is their agenda. Ask them. When you start a company, I mean, you're a bit shy, and I'm a scientist, so I don't know this world from the beginning. And then I sort of get the hint, okay, this person, she doesn't have a clue what he's talking about. And he's not even interested in my company. He wanted to do something different with an application, technical, blah, blah, whatever. He hates to work with biology. And then you have someone that's so good and could help you so much. And this is not easy in the beginning. So ask around. That's a good advice from me. Return of investment. This famous expression. As a scientist, you are not so interested in the return of investment. But for some people in this world, that's everything. And then you have to be very strong not to kill all your darlings. Board members, well, they should not be chosen because they want to be board members. They should be chosen because they have a passion for what you are doing. Again, ask, ask, ask. Investors, well, you will be approached by investors that they say, oh, I want to invest in your company. And then okay, but this is a company built on the environment, sustainability. We want to do something good. It's not all about return of investment. And then some investors say, okay, no thanks. But some are so enthusiastic, so passionate, and you need to find these ones that fits with your ID. IP, long story. Sometimes it's better to have it as a trade secret, because once it's out there as an IP, you have a patent, then it's also in text what you're doing. So some things are better protected as being non-IP. Are you ready to sell your soul? Well, apart from bragging with these pictures, awards will help you to get attention. Attention will help you to find investors. And we had a super bonus that we were invited, Sophie and I, we were invited to the Nobel Prize, Nobel Week. So we could talk about exactly this, the triple helix that I've been talking about now, and also invited to the Nobel Prize ceremony, of course. That is something. Then you can work a lot extra hours. Upscaling. This is again about killing your darlings. Being an early scientist, no, you can't be that. You can't be so picky. You need to go for the upscaling. So here, from the lab to the algae factory, from 3 of us nerds in the lab to this 10 employees with different competence in the Swedish algae factory. We have to trust each other. We have to, as a scientist, I have to let go. I can't be in control all the time. And that is the most difficult, to let go of your baby, kill your darlings. This is upscaling in Kungshamn, where we're now building our new facility. And it's our production manager, Gustav, in the front, looking out over the soon-to-be new algae factory. So, are you ready to sell your soul, kill your darlings? No, definitely not. But I have a new darling, and that is the sustainability in the company, in the product that we are the Algica that we are producing and selling, but not at the expense of the environment. That is so important, and that is a darling I will never kill. I could compromise with my variables, my replicas, etc., but not with this. So yes, darlings were killed, but new ones were born. So we are inspired by nature, and we are aiming or going towards a more sustainable industry. So I just want to say, this is the team. We are now hiring people again. If someone is interested to be an algae farmer in Kungshamn, just let us know. And for me personally, the stupid person behind the red arrow, just take the jump. Thanks. And if anyone has questions, I'm happy to take them, either now or you can send me an email and I will do my best. And also if someone needs an advice from me, very limited advice when it comes to starting a business, but I mean, some experience from some of the traps at least. Tack.